I get asked a lot about how to get into trail running, and this is such a lovely time of year to be trail running. So I thought I'd go through my favourite tips to get into trail running as a complete beginner. Let's get into it. For my first tip, I'm just trying to hunt down my favourite bench. I always get lost when I come here, so I just keep on wiggling. By far, the number one worry people seem to have when I tell them I'm a trail runner and they want to do it, the biggest worry seems to be that they're going to roll their ankle. So I have a few strategies. When I left home it was so sunny. Why is it raining? But I have a few strategies to help prevent rolling your ankle, and it starts from the ground up with your shoes. So if you're a road runner, you probably have a pair of shoes like this. They probably have a stack height, which is the height of the sole, of 3 centimeters or more, and they probably have a narrow toe box. I like to run in these shoes. Now, one of these elements of shoe I would recommend, and that's the stack height. This has a 2 centimeter or 2.5 centimeter stack height. This is the Ultra Lone Peak, and having smaller stack height means that you're lower to the ground and actually less wobbly side to side. There is less distance, less of a lever to push into your lateral ankle when your foot hits the floor. So having a lower stack height can help prevent ankle injuries by just being more stable. The other thing that this shoe has, and this is relatively specific to the brand Ultra, other brands do it but not many, is it has a wide toe box. This is important because what it does is it allows your toes to splay, particularly the big toe. And the big toe, when in correlation with the metatarsal, the next bone along in the foot, when they're in line with each other, they're a very strong unit that help prevent lateral instability. When your toe box is narrow and it squishes your toes together, that creates a little bit of instability in the forefoot. So I'm not telling you to go with these shoes because they're zero drop. That means the heel is the same height as the forefoot. Not everyone is okay to go with that. I have found though that they help prevent ankle injuries and ankle sprains because of the lower stack height and the wider toe box. So something to think about. Other things that I do that help prevent ankle sprains are 95% of the time when I'm not running, I'm in a minimal barefoot shoe, which I use Vivo barefoot shoes. This helps build foot strength and also helps build the brain to foot connection. So I'm more aware of my feet, having worn shoes like that for a long time. And it doesn't prevent me slipping down steep wet bits though. So at least it helped me prevent from straining my ankle. I should probably pay attention to what I'm doing. And alongside wearing minimal barefoot shoes, 95% of the time when I'm not running, I also do foot exercises and do some of my training barefoot. So just generally, strength training, barefoot training, being barefoot, all of these things are things that will help prevent ankle sprains and make you feel more confident when you're out on the trails. I'm on another bench to show you one more thing about my shoes, and that's the tread. So these are the Ultra Lone Peak, as I said. These are actually pretty terrible for muddy and wet grass situations, which is why I just fell over. So what you want in muddy or wet grass situations, or boggy situations, boggy trails, is just a bigger tread. Ultra do have shoes with bigger treads. When I really need a big tread, I would get something like the La Sportiva Mutant, something like that has a bigger tread, or even some of the Innovate Mud Claws if you're going really muddy. So there are shoes out there that specialize in muddy, boggy, slippery situations. These are not that shoe. These are great though for light trails, rocky trails. They allow your foot to bend and adapt. In the summer, most of the time when it's dry, you can get away with road shoes, so you don't even need to go out and buy some shoes straight away, particularly if you're starting trail running in the summer. So don't worry about going off and getting loads of gear. You only really need a super technical shoe to help you cope with very specific forms of terrain. And when you're getting into trail running, I don't really recommend going for the super technical stuff straight away anyway. So you should be fine. If you're new to trail running and you are worried about rolling your ankles, once you're set with the right pair of shoes and you've been considering strengthening your ankles, feet and ankles, also think about the first 10 to 15 minutes of your run as being a warm-up, not just for your cardiovascular system, but also for your feet and ankles. So the The first 15 minutes should be slow. Also take smaller steps, and particularly on the downhills, for example, or if there are any bits of more technical terrain. I've got some tree roots coming up here, so I'm just going to take smaller steps, and that just helps me not slip. It reduces the amount of force going through my feet on any single step, and just makes me feel more confident and comfortable in my positioning. In terms of kit, you don't really need much else other than what you would usually use for running. So as you run further, you might want some sort of hydration vest to hold your water and your keys and your phone. But other than that, it's basically the same. I've got an entire video on all of the essential kit I use as a trail runner and an ultra runner. So all of the kit that I use for ultra distance trail runs, and I'll leave that in the description. But in terms of kit that I'm wearing today, that brings us on to the sponsor of this video, 10,000. 10,000 make high-end sports gear that looks great and feels great. I've been wearing the interval short today, and the liner is the most comfortable liner of any shorts that I own. They've got the pocket for the phone, pocket for your keys, zip pocket for any other valuables, and I've been loving the interval short in my running and in my weightlifting. This lightweight t-shirt, super comfortable, 4-way stretch, hasn't been chafing at all. I think the thing that I like the most about 10,000 is its subtle, minimalist design with small logos, so you can look good with subtlety, but feel good because it's so comfortable as well. If you want to upgrade your training gear, check out tenthousand.cc/CB15 for a 15% discount off all of your purchases. My favorite thing about trail running is to have a little mindset shift. Obviously, there are some great trail runners and competitive trail runners, and they really try and push the boundaries of what's possible and what's possible for them as an individual. But I'm just not interested in that anymore. Maybe I'm getting old. And obviously I like to set myself challenges, but there just seems to be a bit of a commonality between trail runners where we care more about being out in nature, having a good time, having a good day out, a bit of an adventure, and pacing doesn't quite matter so much. The way that plays out is if you're worried and nervous about traveling across some uneven ground, walk it. If you're struggling to go up a hill, walk it. It's more about being out, being with good people, being on your own in nature, looking up through the leaves of the trees. There's just this mindset shift. Now, it doesn't have to be binary. You don't have to be at one with nature and not worry about your times. You could be striving for your fastest 5K out on the roads and then just come to the trails once a week and not wear a watch, not wear a heart rate monitor. Just take it easy and enjoy being out on the trails, leaves under your feet. It doesn't have to be binary. There are still times where I'm competitive and want to push against other people, but when I'm out on the trails, that's not one of those times. I'm here to have an adventure and here to be in nature. Sometimes when you feel confident, it's just fun to give it a blast up a hill. How do you find trails? Well, the best way to do it is with an app. I subscribe to Strava, and with the paid version, you can build your own routes. So when you're building a route, you can click what sort of terrain you want, and if you click trail, how far you want to go, your starting point, it will build you a trail, and you'll find amazing things near where you live that you never knew existed. I forget there are other apps other than Strava, but I'm having a brain fart and I can't actually remember their names. And if you don't want to pay for Strava or any of the other apps, you can get a 1-month free trial, I think, on Strava, and try and learn all the routes in 1 month. And then once you know them, then you've got them in your head. The other thing though, once you know roughly where you're going, it's great getting lost and not knowing where you are from time to time. There's a real thrill, it makes it feel real. I love road running, I love track running, I just love running. But when you're out on the trails, particularly when you're going a long way, particularly when you get lost from time to time, it just feels a bit more primitive, a bit more real. It makes my soul sing, that's what I say about it. One final bit of advice. Don't forget your shoes to change into. It's going to be a muddy ride home otherwise. So I hope that helped, and until next time, happy training.